Yeah, it's great to see everybody. Great to kind of be back in a limited fashion. First, I'd like to thank Indiana and all the health professionals that jumped into action when I tested positive last week. I'd like to thank the coaching staff. Our coaches were incredible. Coach Parker slid right in and did an absolute terrific job, just like just like you knew that he would. The players really handled it incredibly well. Absolute professionals, which I was confident they would be, and they went out and performed really well and followed the plan, as they're expected to do. I'm feeling a lot better. I feel pretty good. My family's all been healthy. They haven't had any symptoms, and hopefully that stays that way. Hopefully, no one else in the program has any symptoms or has any positive tests. But we've been clean. We've been good. Everything's moving forward, and obviously an exciting weekend this past weekend, and really looking forward to Purdue and turning our attention, our focus to the Boilermakers. But just want to just say how appreciative and thankful I am to the coaching staff, to Coach Parker, all the coaches that just stepped up and did an incredible job.
All right, we'll start off with John Blau.
I know you said the symptoms were pretty mild. So, I mean, how surprised were you when you tested positive, and how much of a kind of quick turn change was it to kind of get your coaches ready and your team ready to go off kind of without you? Kind of how did that process go?
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising. I think for most of the people that end up testing positive, we test so often. So it caught me off guard there Friday morning, and then the symptoms kind of followed thereafter. But we've talked about this. We've prepared for this. We've spent the last year or so in this world. So this isn't a shock or a surprise. And so as we moved in and said, hey, I had to go back and test again, we had our protocols in place. Obviously, Justin was going to step in for me regardless. The rest of those guys know what to do and how to do it. So it's a smooth operation. And the reality is, once the game day starts, there's not a whole lot that we're really capable of doing outside of, Justin calls the pitches and calls the defensive alignments in a lot of ways, but that work is done prior to the week starting. The players know how to play. They know what to do. We try really hard, and I think this was put to test this week, and we try really hard as coaches to be hands off for the most part during game day. If we have to coach during the game, it's too late. The work's already done. Those guys are prepared, and they know what to do. Now you can remind a guy, and obviously Justin's calling pitches, but the show goes on with or without any one individual person. And that showed this weekend. And I was the happiest guy in the world that the show went on without me. So,
Carl?
Yes, Coach. On Sunday in particular, the team managed to pull it out, with a walk-off home run and a bunt squeeze. But to some degree, you kind of would have expected a little bit more offense on there. What did you see from the approaches remotely?
Well, I did have a different viewpoint, which actually in a lot of ways was good. I've watched a lot of the other teams play, and I've watched us play from a different angle. The thing that I think we have to keep in mind too is anytime you play in 4 games in 2 days in cold weather. I mean, there's going to be some fatigue, just as much mental fatigue as there is physical fatigue. I mean, it's just hard to stay that focused for that long. And I think you saw a little bit of that on Sunday as the day went on, just maybe expanding the zone a little bit more, although I think we do a terrific job. We don't expand on breaking balls down. We almost never expand on pitches up or out, but maybe outside a little bit of the zones that you would normally see for those guys. What I think I saw the most was just like a lack of true commitment to the contact point. And that just comes from mental fatigue. It's just hard. Baseball's not designed to play, 4 games in 2 days like that, which is why we don't schedule it. But it is what it is. What I was proud of is they were able to execute a different fundamental part of the game to win in each game. You look at the last inning when Grant hits the home run, you've got a really competitive walk from Machaki. You've got a really competitive 2-strike at bat and a low single the other way from Drew Ashley. Grant Richardson takes a slider and takes it late, gets back on fastball timing, gets a fastball out of the plate and hits it the other way for a homer. And in the second game, like you said, you've got, I think Sam Murison comes up, puts a ball in play with 2 strikes, beats out an infield single, pinch hit Hunter Jesse comes up, has a good at bat, line drive in the 4-hole, and then you bring in Jeremy, who can really handle the bat and plays a lot of winning baseball. Great call by the coaches with the safety, and you're able to score that run. So a lot of different ways, but there always is a team component. And I will say this too: there is something to be said for finding a way to win games, even when it's not always in the idealistic fashion. Pitching and defense will always give an opportunity to win games, and then being competitive offensively. We have to make sure that we stay focused throughout the entire game moving forward, and I'm confident that we will.
Back to John.
I guess just to ask, I mean, what was the setup? Are you just sitting at home on TV, or are you calling them after games, or Zooming anybody, or kind of how much contact, or how much are you just a fan, just kind of watching this kind of play out?
Multifaceted. One, I don't want to overstep. Those guys are in the building, and I feel really strongly in my confidence and my belief in the coaches that are there. They don't need me to step in. I want to be supportive. I want to give my 2 cents. I want to give my ideas pre and post. But as a coach, so much of coaching is feel and instincts. And when you're in the building and you're watching the game and you're watching the players, you make the lineup. I'll give you my 2 cents from what I'm seeing, but you're there. You saw all the things that went on. You saw the body language. You did those things, and you make that call. And I trust those guys to do that. So I talked to them before the game. I talked to them after the game. And kind of give my evaluation. But at the end, I always tell those guys, it's your call. I trust you. You do what you feel is right, and that'll be the right thing. And trust your gut and trust your instincts. So I'm involved. I've helped with the practice plans this week and communicated what my 2 cents is. But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they feel is best, and that'll be the right move.
Tom, and then Carl.
2 questions for you, Jeff. You had mentioned that your family didn't have any symptoms, but did they test positive too, or no?
My wife has tested negative 3 times.
Okay.
In that period of time, so
Awesome.
She's tested negative 3 times.
Good. Secondly, we've made a lot of a big deal of how good the starting pitching has been these first couple of weeks. But can you talk a little bit about how good the bullpen's been too? I mean, those guys. There's been several guys, come out of there and really pitch well so far for you the first couple of weeks.
You're absolutely right. I think what I have been the most proud of overall, and the pitching staff as part of that, is guys really embracing their roles and being where their feet are at in their roles. Everybody wants to throw on Fridays. Everybody wants to hit 3-hole. Well, you have an opportunity when you come into the game, regardless of your role, to be the best that you can in this moment. And if I want to expand my role, I have to be terrific in the role I have currently. And I think that comes along with relief pitchers, because a lot of those guys have the ability to be starters. And if I'm always thinking about what I want, where I want to be somewhere else, then I'm not able to be terrific here. I think that's the first thing that's really important, is those guys have been outstanding in their roles and their commitment to impacting in a positive way. And they're very talented. And you see what happens when you have a whole collective unit working together for one shared vision. And that's what pitching staff has done, is they're all excellent in their own way, in their own time, and then trusting each other. McCade Brown comes out the other day. Obviously, his pitch counts at 100 pitches. It's early in the season, but he has to know to trust the guy to give the ball to that next guy behind him. You see some of these moments in the last 2 weeks where I love the fact that we've played close games, a lot of close games early in the season. It hardens a team, and it unifies the team, and it prepares them for late in the season. We've had to hand the ball off in close games to the bullpen, and those guys have come through and been trustworthy. And that speaks volumes to their mental state, their competitiveness, and obviously their preparation from Coach Parker, who's absolutely the best in the business. So yeah, I've been thrilled. And at the same time, those guys are talented enough and prepared enough to have success, and we expect them to.
All right, Carl, then Sean.
Coach, you may not be able to talk about this, but if you are able to provide an update on Cole Barr after that slide on Sunday.
Yeah, I think he's feeling better each day. I think it's gonna be a day-to-day thing. He called me right there afterwards and was frustrated. He ran through a stop sign. It's the first thing he told me. He said, "You're gonna be mad at me. I ran to the stop sign." I said, "You're right. I am mad at you, but you'll be fine." So I think he's gonna be fine, day-to-day thing. But you look at what Brendan Rowe did, stepping in his first college game, and of his career, comes in and makes 3 or 4 really good plays on wet turf, hard hit balls in a big game, close game. Comes in, gets 2 base hits, puts a 3rd ball in play, has really quality at bats, follows the approach system to a T. And our philosophy being where we have to coach the entire team. You don't know what day it's going to be when someone else has to step in. You don't just coach the top 9 guys. You coach the entire team every day, top to bottom, hold them all to the same standard. Because at some point in time, when Cole Barr does have a minor injury, someone else is going to have to step in, and we're still expected to win that game. And that goes for all of them. So I think Cole will be back. I think Cole will be back in the short term. When that is, obviously, I don't know yet. But I was super, super pleased with the way that Brendan Rowe stepped in and was an absolute pro.
Sean, and then we'll wrap up with John.
Hi. So in your first press conference before the first games of the season, you had mentioned that it seems like the pitching was kind of above the batting with that extra month that you guys had to practice. Mm-hmm. Obviously, McKay going for 16 kind of solidifies that statement, but has there been anything within the batting rotation you've seen that's led you to believe that the team's just getting stronger in that aspect?
Strongest from an offensive aspect?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you look at of the 8 games that we've played, I think 6 of those 8 games we've scored 5 or more runs, 4 or 5 runs or more, and several of those games we were able to pull away. It's a younger group from experience standpoint, and anytime you have that, you have to play. You have to learn. You have to make mistakes. What you really have to have is, from our standpoint, we all play high school football. Love high school football. And when you look at the way football is taught, it's almost all through video, right? You recruit through video, you teach through video, you're all watching video. Well, the very, very few of these guys have actual college video of them succeeding or failing or teaching points in the moment where you can apply what's taught in real time and say, this is how we have to learn and grow. And so now we have 2 weeks of video. And so that's the first thing that we'll do. So yesterday was a video day where we don't have to take 1,000 swings. Oftentimes you can take less swings and learn more just by watching yourself. And so we've always taken more of a football philosophy in the way that we study film and watch those at bats. So that's what I watch, and I see, like, that's great. We've had some really good innings. We've had some really good at bats. We've had some moments where we weren't as terrific. It's part of the game. Hitting is incredibly hard. And that the natural hit tool is the most coveted tool. It's the most difficult tool to develop. And so when you watch film and you watch video, you watch yourself in those moments, I think that's when you learn the most. So that's what I see. I see us accruing a lot of experience for a younger group that's going to pay dividends down the road, and a lot of opportunity for us to learn and grow from it. I'm very confident in them.
Thank you.
All right, John, wrap us up.
I kind of asked Grant this after the game, but obviously, they had that season cut short. You have a long wait to play again, and then you have this, walk-off home run. Just kind of maybe have a little bit of a different perspective on it. Like, what was your reaction, I guess, at home? Was it kind of jump off the couch moment? Kind of, what did it feel like to actually see something like that and see the celebration and see them able to have fun kind of in that way?
Yeah, it's you're exactly right. I think what was interesting, from my viewpoint was watching the whole comeback happen, because you're down 5-1, and the Machaki home run, and then Richardson doubles, Barr singles with 2 outs, and so you have to, in those moments, you have to chip away at it, and that's a mentality, and that's an attitude, and that's a decision to put the blinders on and to just attack one pitch at a time. I know it's cliche, but that's the only option that you have. So when you're watching that whole thing transpire, you're watching inning, the 5th, 6th, and going into the 7th, how it all stacks up. And then when knowing the top of the lineup is getting ready to turn over. So it's like you have Machaki, which is why we like to hit the Houston Machaki in the 9-hole, guy that can run a little bit, guy that has some gamesmanship to him, can do some things because it turns it over into the top. And then you're kind of watching that whole thing transpire. It's like, we're going to give ourselves a shot, but we gave ourselves a shot because of what we did in the 5th, what we did in the 6th, and the way that we set the lineup up there. And then to see those guys execute the plan, execute the philosophy, and then to see Grant Richardson step into what is perceptually a difficult situation for him, which is the crossfire lefty. He's in the game just to face Grant, to have the righty up in the pen. this kid's staying in the game just to face Grant in this moment, throws him the slider. And then for him to get back on fastball timing, all of those things are learned behaviors throughout the course of a year. So you're right. There was 1,000 pieces that go into that, and you could see it happening. You could see it coming. It was just the question of were we going to be able to pull it off in the end? And like I said earlier, there is something to be said for a team that knows how to win, that has an instinct to win, that has a feel to win, and that has the emotional stability to say like, hey, maybe we didn't play our best ball game today, but daggone it, we're going to find a way to pull this thing out, and then consistently do that. And that's what we've done.
All right. Thank you, Coach Mercer.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Good to see everybody.